Hey, and welcome to episode 3 of recreating Disneyland's Main Street Station in Anaheim, California. Today is the shorter episode that I promised, where we're working on the clock on the large clock tower of the station. The key to making this happen was this little slice that you can see I started with, and this was really something that came out of trial and error, figuring out where all the trims needed to line up, looking at a bunch of pictures of kind of the basic shape of the clock, and I came across this shape where when you rotate it around it gives almost exactly the look that I needed. So here you can see what the trim on the roof looked like, and then I just made the clock so that these little trim pieces could all line up at a nice 90 degree angle here at the bottom of the clock. And once that was all lined up, it was pretty easy to just copy that over to the other side and do the same thing with the left side of the clock. And then the same thing I did on the clock, just lining up these trims at all the corners. And that's basically how I did the roof and the trim of the clock. And now here's how I did the actual face of the clock. This was done all again with hydro beams, just like everything else has been. This was a little tricky though, just because of how small the pieces that I had to use were. So you can see I put in the center point, and then I first thought I was going to use these boxes and just rotate them around to show where each of the numbers had to be. But you'll notice in a second, as soon as I make the first number, I found a much better way to do it, because all the Roman numerals have this line on the bottom and line on the top, and so all those theoretically should be the same height. So all I had to do was take the tops and the bottoms of the number 1, and then rotate those around, and then I already had a starting point for each of the numbers. From there, just had to go around and make each number. There wasn't really any too significant tricks to this. The one sneaky thing I did find was that I could flip the 4 and make it the 6, and flip the 9 and make it the 11, because those numbers are just mirror images of each other. So here's the 4, and this is also the first number that we had to make the V for. And then I can just copy the V to the 5, and then copy the 4, flip it over using the world axis, and then pop it into where the 6 needs to go. And now we start on the hands of the clock. I just had to use the super thin 2x2 hydro beams. It was a little tricky just because the smallest of the beams is still 0.2 meters long, which meant I couldn't get quite as much detail as I would have liked in these, and they ended up looking a little bit messy, but I think from a distance it sells it. I really wanted to capture that ornate, detailed look that they had on the real station, and I think it gives the same vibe, even though it's not perfect. Now I start on this little centerpiece that you can see on the right. It's very similar to the little details we had to put above all of the doors, so this actually wasn't too bad. Again, just a lot of moving around these little tiny hydro beams to get everything to line up. I was hoping I could just reuse one of the little door details, especially the one from the second floor. I thought I could maybe just copy paste up, but it turned out that it wasn't quite the right size, and this one had to be at an angle, so couldn't copy paste that, unfortunately. Here you can see we're just putting the clock into place and then lining up all those trims again like you saw earlier. Pretty self-explanatory, and everything actually fit really nice. Came out pretty well. I'm very happy with it. I did have to, once it was up on the roof, I did have to move the little back bits of the clock further down just so when there was the roof, it wouldn't have a strange gap between the roof and the back of the clock. I just wanted to make that a nice seamless connection like it is in real life. You'll also notice on the picture on the right, that's a 50th anniversary picture where they put that little Mickey decoration up there. That's not what it normally looks like, so that's not what I'm going to be doing. But the little gold details next to the Mickey are always there, and those I was not able to do in Planet Coaster using TMTK pieces, so I'm actually going to have custom little details made for that by a good friend of mine, Mango Tango, who's also doing the big Disneyland sign and a bunch of other little signages around as little TMTK pieces that I'll be able to put in and have all those little details look extra nice. Now we're just doing the last little detail of the clock, which is the little half circle bit. It almost looks like it's holding up the clock underneath it. And again, same story as always, just some hydro beams does the job there. And then as usual, once that's in place and looking all good, it's just a matter of copying it and then pasting it onto the other side so that everything lines up nicely. And here we are at the cinematics. That's it for this episode. Just wanted to go into some detail about how I made that clock because it is kind of an integral part of the building. Thanks everyone for watching. Should have another episode coming soon where we do the roof, and appreciate all the support and views on the videos. Have a good one.